This is Ryan and Michelle, and welcome to the Celebrate MarriageCast, where we hope to restore and reclaim godly marriages through honest and real conversations.
Welcome to episode 41, and today we have a special guest who, along with his wife, have actually presented at one of our Celebrate Marriage date nights. We're so excited for Dr. Les Parrott here, and we're talking about a topic called the gender gap and talking about the differences between men and women. Not a science lesson per se, but really more of the intimate needs of men and of women and why it's so important to understand the differences to have a healthy marriage. So what better person to talk to us today than Dr. Les Parrott? Les, welcome to our show. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. It's such an honor to do this. I love your church. And in fact, was just talking with Chris, your marriage pastor there, and you guys are doing so many cool, innovative things. Do you know that only 72% of churches are actually doing something intentional to help the couples in their care?
Wow.
I mean, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Less than 72%. It's the other way around. 72% are not doing anything. So you guys are in rarefied air. And you guys, I just love what you're doing. And it was so fun to do the Better Love date night with Leslie at your church just not very long ago. It was super fun.
Yeah.
Dr. Les, would you tell us, our listeners, a little bit about yourself then too, other than we know that you've been here for our date night, but there's so much more. Would you share some of that?
Well, I'm a psychologist and married to Leslie. We have the same name, so it's a little confusing. But Leslie's a marriage and family therapist. And in about 2 weeks, we're celebrating, maybe a week and a half, we're celebrating our 40th year of marriage, which doesn't seem possible.
Awesome.
But
Congratulations.
And we have 2 boys. One's in college in New York at NYU, and the other's earning a PhD in Southern California. Both headed down the psychology track. I don't know where they got that idea, but anyway. And
they were inspired.
Yeah, I guess it's a little contagious in our home. But we used to teach at a Christian college here in Seattle, where we live. And some years ago, we stepped out of that and started the first ever online matching program for couples. And the science of, first of all, the internet was brand new. And the science that we had about how to make a good match for lifelong love was just kind of burning within us with our friends, Neil and Marilyn Warren. And so we launched this company, the first one ever. We called it eHarmony. And so that really kind of began to educate us on how to leverage technology to help couples. And we've been kind of on that path ever since. We've since sold eHarmony years ago, but we still are dedicated to doing that. We have a BHAG. Do you guys know what a BHAG is?
A big, hairy, audacious goal.
Yeah. And ours is to see the divorce rate dropped in local churches significantly. And so that's why we just love what you guys are doing at Celebrate.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure our listeners have heard of eHarmony. If you're listening, that's incredible what you started and love the audacious goal, the BHAG. That's fantastic. Yeah. Important work we're doing.
Yeah. So let's go back to the very beginning, back to the Garden of Eden. It was evident from the very beginning that there was a need, that Adam needed a helper. Can you walk us through this and the fact that our differences are God designed?
Okay. Well, all I can say is this. For the longest time here, we used to talk about gender differences, and we used to talk about the needs that men have and that women have. And then that suddenly became politically incorrect. And so it was kind of like, oh, no, we're egalitarian and so forth when it comes to men and women, and we have the same needs, and to parse that is kind of going down the wrong path. And I'm talking about the professional scientific community. And that's begun to flip because we realize that's just not true. Even our brains are hardwired differently as men and women. There's something in the middle of the brain. If you put your 2 fists together, for those that are watching, in between that, if those each represent the kind of the hemispheres in our brain, the right and left hemispheres, in between that is a piece of flesh, a dense piece of flesh that is called the corpus callosum. And it's very different between men and women. Women, researchers equate it to kind of a 6-lane highway, because women are communicating back and forth in their hemispheres, which allows them to multitask. It allows them to hear a baby crying in another room long before a man does. All kinds of interesting things. They have a wider peripheral vision because of that. All kinds of very interesting things because of that corpus callosum. As just one example. For men, the researchers say it's more like a country lane between the two hemispheres, all right? And so that allows men to be very focused and kind of tunnel vision, even our peripheral vision. Have you ever had this experience, Michelle, when like Ryan says, hey, I'm making a sandwich and I can't find the mustard? And you say, it's right there on the door of the fridge. And he goes, I'm looking right at it. I don't see any mustard in here. And you say, it's eye level and it's yellow, when you're describing.
Sure.
And he's just not seeing it. And then you finally come around and go, here it is. Do you see it now? And that's because men have that kind of focused attention that we can really filter out a bunch of other things in order to get something done. And so anyway, there's lots of differences like that. And so that is something that now the scientific community is going, yeah, we need to pay attention to some of these differences between the genders in order to bridge that gender gap.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I've heard it said before where it's like a box. Men have these boxes they can take out, work on that box, put it away. And the women is like a bowl of spaghetti. And I have one thought, and Ryan will wonder, how did we get talking about this when we started here? And it's because you're just riding that wild spaghetti noodle or something.
Our friends wrote a great book on that. Men are women are like spaghetti and men are like boxes. I don't know, something along those lines.
Yeah, I think that was probably the we did it as a life group. It was probably the study we did. So, Dr. Les, so just even practically and a little more specific, so what should a husband know about his wife in terms of her primary needs, and what should a wife know about her husband? What comes up in your practice that would be valuable for just some valuable tips for our listeners?
Well, years ago, we wrote a book called Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts. And it's 7 questions that every couple should ask before and after they marry. And one of those chapters is, have you bridged the gender gap? And rather than making it complex and looking at all the different things that you need to know to bridge the gender gap, we say really each side needs to know one thing about the other side. And so for women, they need to know that their man will open up and become more vulnerable, more authentic, more intimate when you are doing a shared activity together. And the reason this is a gender difference is most women have no idea that this is the case. Most women go, hey, let's go out to Starbucks and we'll just talk, And they go and their husband's just like looking out the window and like he wants to talk and we're having our quality time right now, but there's just nothing to talk about, right? And you begin to feel, okay, well, let's restart this. Okay. And you just keep trying to get that to happen. And the truth is, this is what we know about the male mind, is that in the midst of a shared activity, he will naturally, you don't have to ask him, he will open up and begin talking at a vulnerable level. It's just the way we're hardwired. And so it's a little secret that women need to know about men. Let me give you a quick example.
That's a great secret.
You can do something as simple as take a walk together. And it's in that walking. See, guys don't call up other guys and go, hey, you want to get together and talk? We call up each other and go, hey, you want to go fishing? Hey, you want to go hunting? You want to go play tennis? You want to go to a movie? You want to go to whatever? We're going to go do something. And it's in the process of doing that we begin to talk about stuff. And women are not like that. They literally will get together and talk. My wife, Leslie, right now is with another woman because they wanted to get together and talk. All right. Yep. So men just don't do that. At least not at the same level. And so it can be something as simple as taking a walk. One of my best friends he's a professional football player, retired, and his name is Jim Zorn. And he was quarterback here in Seattle for the Seahawks years ago. And he and his wife, they've been married longer than we have. And we were talking about this not too long ago with them. And Joyce said, I'm going to put this to the test. And she said, Jim has been asking me to go jog with him in the mornings. and I just don't want to do that. He's faster than I am and blah, blah, blah. But he said, I'm going to try. Well, on the very first morning that they did this, they came back and they were standing in the garage, and Jim just kept talking about their kids and some parenting issues going on. And she was thinking, I got to get the kids off to school, and Jim won't shut up. He just keeps talking about all the stuff that I wanted to talk about. And it was because they engaged in a shared activity. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think about you play soccer, and after the games, is this camaraderie with the other guys, and pickleball, going to sporting events with other guys.
Yeah, I mean, Les, I think it's such a great point with the sports, for me it's sports, but activities of just really, I feel like something opens up when I have that opportunity. Like when we, for us, like walking has been a big deal, and it's a time that I really cherish because, we'll go out for a walk 20 minutes, 45 minutes, something like that, quite a few nights, and it's a big, I feel like I open up a lot more than if we just go sit and talk.
Yeah, Ryan, I know like every other guy on the planet, you get it because and sometimes it doesn't even have to be the idea of engaging in that activity. Sometimes if Michelle is just there while you're playing racquetball, for example, and watching, and then it's afterwards and you're just hanging out and walking to, debrief or whatever. But there's something about the male psyche that needs to have activity to do that. And it can be, you don't even have to, this is what's so foreign to women. Women want to look at each other while they're talking. And guys are like, what? Because we can go to a football game and stand and be in the stands, or a baseball game and look out at something else and have a great conversation, and we never see each other's faces, right?
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
there's something about that for the male psyche. Now, let's flip it around and look at the other side of the coin, because women, this is something that most men don't know about women, and that is that she needs to be cherished. She needs to be cherished. And if you ask men to make a list of the 100, well, let's do it the other way around. If you ask women to make a list of the top 10 things they need from their man, almost inevitably, women will write as one of those 10, I need to be cherished. I want him to cherish me. Now, if you ask men to make a list of 100 things they need from their woman, you'll be hard pressed to find a man that says, oh, I know one thing, she better cherish me, right? It's just foreign to us. And so this is something that men need to know about women. What does it mean to be cherished? And I'm not going to put you on the spot, Ryan, but if I was feeling a little bit more, spicy today, I would force you to go, what does it mean to cherish Michelle? But most men really just don't get that because it's not in our nature to want to be cherished. So what is it? Here's a quick example. Your wife is at work and she has an important meeting, and you're thinking about her. She has no idea, of course, that you're thinking about her. And so you want her to know that you cherish her. Well, how are you going to do that? You could text her. Yeah, that's kind of mundane, but it's still good, still really good. But here's something that really cherishes her. Get her favorite drink, say at Starbucks, and write on the lid, I'm praying for you. I'm thinking about you today, and get that hand delivered to her before she goes into her meeting, right? That's what it means to cherish a woman. And most guys are like, yeah, that's good. That's good. But our minds aren't thinking in ways to do that. We have to really train. I call it microdosing our minds for guys to begin to think about that. But if you do that, and first of all, do you resonate with that, Michelle?
I do. Yeah. I was thinking about, that whole act of cherishing. I think it's because I give so much of my heart to Ryan, and I want to know it's being treated delicately and gingerly. But there was a meeting recently, Les, where I went out to my car. I had a big meeting that day. I left the house after Ryan, and there was a note on my dash, and it said, praying for your big meeting today, love. You've got it. So proud of you.
Wow. So, people are going to think I set this up to just make Ryan look like a hero, but that happened organically. Way to go, Ryan. High five for you. That's awesome. But that's the whole point, is that men need to know that women need to be cherished, and women need to know that men need shared activity if you want to open up their spirit. Right? And that's what we all want in marriage, is to open up our spirits. Those are the happiest couples on the planet that have bridged that part of the gender gap.
Yeah, that's so good. That's just two gold nuggets right there. That's so good.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that you can put in practice starting today. You don't have to, plan that. You don't have to Google. You don't have to save money. It's something you can put into practice starting today.
Dr. Les, thank you so much. I know our time today was short and sweet, but I feel like those tips were so valuable and so golden, like Ryan said. Where can our listeners follow along with you and Leslie?
Well, thanks for asking. Yeah, people can go to our website, which is lesandleslie.com. You can just Google our names, Les and Leslie Parrott, and it'll come up. But I also would love to, and by the way, they can find all of our books and so forth. And that book I mentioned that we were just talking about, Saving Your Marriage Before and After It Starts. We really wrote it for newlyweds and engaged couples, but I know this book has sold more than 2 million copies. And so I know lots of married couples seem to find a lot of help from it as well. And then we talk about it too in another book that we have called The Good Fight. And so all that is on our website. But let me mention one other thing, and that is a free resource that I hope everybody can take advantage called loveology.org. And it's a little nonprofit thing that has a collection of more than 1,000 short form videos that'll answer questions, not just on bridging the gender gap, but on all kinds of things like managing money and disciplining kids and getting along with in-laws and setting boundaries and you name it. And it's from some of the nation's greatest experts on that. On money, for example, Dave Ramsey, and setting boundaries, it would be Henry Cloud and so forth. So it's all
Amazing.
free. Just go to loveology.org. You don't have to register. You don't have to give us anything. It's all free for you to use.
Amazing. That's incredible. Those are huge names, and you and Leslie bring such valuable work to this sphere too. Thank you so much for providing that resource. We can put links to those websites and your books that you mentioned in our show notes too. So That's fantastic.
Well, Ryan and Michelle, thank you so much for having me on. It's a real honor to get to be able to do this with you guys. And like I said, your church is you're doing such yeoman work. It's so fun to watch you guys do what you do.
Thank you so much for being here. That has been truly our honor to have you here, and for our listeners. And I want to say this for our listeners, thank you for joining us today on the Celebrate MarriageCast. Thank you for doing the work for your marriage and for wanting to restore and reclaim it as God wants your marriage to be. So for our listeners, if you need more help or marriage resources, you can visit us at celebrate.church/marriage. We'll put links in our show notes to Dr. Les's books in the link that he mentioned. And we hope that you have a fantastic week. Follow us on social media, Celebrate MarriageCast on Instagram, and share this episode with your friends who need to hear this. And have a great week.